What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Carlos once again with some insight as to some interesting things that were discussed earlier this week in regards to Warner Brothers Discovery. One of those was the conference call that they had, or the earnings call, officially as Warner Brothers Discovery. The company essentially talked about its profits and the asset combination and what they were seeing from the Warner Media side. Now, keep in mind that Discovery is still the driving force here. So all the comments were made from people like the CFO of Discovery about the performance of Warner Brothers, or Warner Media rather. The conference call revealed a disappointment in the behavior or of the performance, sorry, from Warner Media. They said that they were essentially missing $500 million lower than they had anticipated. In these type of scenarios, when Discovery obtained agreement from AT&T in regards to obtaining the company, there were projections and they were estimate earnings and profits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so that they will know what they were basically taking on. Now that the dust has settled and they are able to look at the books and to review what the numbers really are, they're starting to find out that Warner Media was overestimating their cash flow, meaning that they have about $500 million that are missing from their estimates. So they're very disappointed in regards to their behavior. There's an interesting quote here. It says, "Right or wrong, management has made a decision to invest in a lot of incoming funds into a number of investment initiatives." Looking under the hood here, CNN Plus is just an example, but they don't want to go into a lot of examples. But there are a lot of investments that are lacking a solid analytical financial foundation and the meeting of the return of investment hurdles that I would like to see of major investments. So while he's talking about Warner Media in general here, I can see as well something that a lot of people have identified about Warner Brothers, a branch of Warner Media that moves a lot of money, that this is the case, that a lot of things don't tend to make sense, that they don't, some of these investments are just not the best investments. They're not the best way to work with the brand. So, it's a bit of a concern to see that Warner Media is is going to potentially be stripped down to just operating parts that can be attached to Discovery. But a lot of, when you have this type of comment and when you have David Zaslav talking about accountability, which you mentioned in another Variety article, he it's starting to seem to me like they are telegraphing a potential reduction of the Warner Media staff, that they're carrying some weight, that they make some money, but to be missing $500 million in profits, that's obviously disappointing. So Zaslav and company, they have challenge ahead. They have a lot of things that they have to work on and review, but it's essentially nothing new to people like myself who have been following along quite a bit. They are confident in that there is IP, that they can have a lot of amount of content that is not being used. We know that already with the DC part, which we focus on mostly. We know that there is nothing there, that they are not doing anything even similar to what Disney is doing in terms of market intelligence, in terms of using your IP to hype up other IP by using streaming services and using television. And there's that disjointment that we always talk about, that's there for clear view. So the fact that in the questions people are saying that there are inefficiencies in Warner Media is very clear. I think that the Warner Brothers Pictures Group is quite possibly an entity that's losing quite a bit of money for them and that they're concerned about. So, to hear that there is disappointment from Warner Brothers Discovery at this stage about Warner Media, it tells you that a lot of things are going to potentially change. One of them being essentially what to do with the DC brand. We've heard before about concerns and potential changes that are going to come in the way of a unification of the DC brand, where you take film, television, video games, and comics, and integrating them into one unified front, which to me makes perfect sense. You know that it's because what's happening right now, what has been happening, is not a positive. So when you have a purchase of this company where you're purchasing this IP, you want a potential impact in the market by using the best IP that can get you most interest, that can get you most returns, and that's not what they're doing. And David Zaslav, as part of his strategy, he wants to come out in what he calls the shock and awe that they will deliver in this merger through Warner Brothers and HBO to provide content like, and I quote here, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. So he quotes the Trinity as something of particular interest, and we have heard from other people, other reporters, that they've talked about potential Trinity movie, and to set up these franchises properly. Superman being hung out to dry, they're not really using the character very well, which, in my opinion, is true. The fact that they've suppressed Zack Snyder's Justice League, which was a film that features Superman in an important way, and that after BVS, that being the only representation of Henry Cavill as Superman, is kind of lame. And the fact that there is no Man of Steel 2 is super lame. The fact that there's no Batfleck movie is extremely lame. The fact that Wonder Woman 1984 was incredibly lame. It just shows you that the brand is not doing so well, and it's not doing what they want. And when they purchase it, they use it they bought it to make the best they can with it. So why are we seeing all these small budget movies, featuring small budget talent when you want to make good use of his IP? David Zaslav, he says himself, he wants accountability. He wants people to be accountable for the decisions that they make. And, when you combined a comment about finances not being right and accountability, it tells you that things are still in the works and changes are going to be. And if you combine this with a potential unification of the DC brand, then there's most definitely something is still coming. Something is still happening. Why could that be? Well, that part is interesting as well. There's this article where they talk about what kind of changes you could see with the DC brand, and the IP. Let me read this to you. Some of the established Warner Bros. IP that the new team will hope to capitalize on is a deep library of superheroes and villains from DC Comics. While the response to recent DCU films has been mixed, Zaslav knows that there has to be a more cohesive plan for the comic characters, even if it doesn't mirror that of their Marvel rivals. We think that DC is an extraordinary opportunity, the CEO said. Batman, Superman, two of the biggest brands in the world, maybe one and two, maybe one in three. I think there's over 100 characters, and let's just say that we're going to focus very hard on building a long-term plan. While there very well might be changes coming to how WBD handles its roster of heroes, there will also be changes happening at the conglomerate's flagship news organization, blah, 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 CNN. But the key is the goal might be the same for both. Get back to what you do best. For DC, they might be telling compelling stories based on their two most popular characters, and for CNN, the plan appears to be to return to a more journalism-focused approach to cable news. So key thing that they're saying here, get back to what you do best. So what do you do best? That's a reference to the past, that they did do something well in the past and they're not doing it well right now. So to me is the past 5 years have been absolutely horrible for the DC brand. There's nothing that is making good use of this IP to make an impact in the market. I've mentioned many times before that WBD is not Disney, so you shouldn't have the exact same expectations. And Disney is now miles ahead in terms of market penetration and brand name recognition and the goodwill of their core customers. So you have to start from somewhere. But if you want to be a player, you just have to look back at, Man of Steel, BVS, Suicide Squad. They were films that were making an impact up until that point. And I know Aquaman did well, but Aquaman is in a way part of that same train that had these movies that were on an average doing 850 uh, millions of dollars. So there is a reference to get back to what you do best. When I think about where in recent times, the past 20 years, what has been DC at its finest when Chris Nolan was doing the Batman trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy, and the Zack Snyder stuff. That stuff that was making having a presence in the market. It was doing something for the brand. What we see in the last couple of years has not been. So it's very interesting that we know they're talking about restructuring. We know that they bought this IP for something. We know they're talking about getting back to doing what you do best. That you need to make good use of Batman and Superman. What have we seen the past few years? Not Batman and Superman. The only feature that really made good use of these characters in a big context and the context that made big noise, if you can exclude the Batman for a second, is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Other than that, it has been a complete struggle to move in this direction. So, if it's not hard to think, you should have big time content, high quality content, not volume but quantity. Sorry, not volume but quality of content. That's what we should be striving for and aiming for, and that's not really what we're seeing. So again, there are changes that are going to be coming to Warner Media. There are rumors that there's interest in the Zack Snyder's universe. There are rumors that they want Henry Cavill to continue. So they should basically really push to integrate everything that you have, put all your eggs in one basket and go for it. Forget about the haters and the nostalgics and those people that will never help you expand the brand and grow and have greater market penetration. Those people will never help. So you have to forget about those people and then just move with this. The narratives have died over time. Doesn't matter what people say or think, but you really have to consider what works the best for you. You have assets, you have streaming, you have theatrical, which is clear that Warner Brothers Discovery is going to continue with as a core thing because it makes the most money, makes the most sense. So you combine video games, comics, film, and TV in a better context, you can make noise. You can get somewhere with this. So what I would say in this case is have a strategy in which film is the explosion, streaming is the fire that starts the explosion, and video games are coming, and comics can be the match that lights them up. So you can sequentially create this interest in a final product, but using all these ones. So that means you have to pay Henry Cavill. Like, come on, just give him the cash, make him a rich man. This guy is a marketable guy. He is a guy with um, an incredible recognition for being Superman that you cannot just let go to waste. Pay the guy, guys. Like, come on. Bring Gal Gadot with, bring Zack Snyder, convince Ben Affleck to come back, bring Ray Fisher, figure out what you want to do with Ezra Miller, and keep expanding this universe. Keep making it better. Things are looking good to me. I think that, there's a little bit of an inconsistency in how the studio's behaving. You saw CinemaCon where they're still kind of like pushing these products that are coming, but they're delayed by a year, and they announce a sequel for the Batman, and Toby Emmerich keeps kind of talking like he is pounding his chest and talking like he like there is everything's still the same. And in these acquisitions, in these mergers, there is business as usual. It's kind of the mantra. So like to me, doesn't matter what you're hearing right now. It's what's going to be happening moving forward. There's still a mystery as to why the films were delayed for a year. I don't know what's the driving factor behind them, but let's see what happens with this. Should be an interesting time.